On this edition of North Bay Bountiful, we explore the important work of citizen scientists. Every day, regular people volunteer to document our natural world. Through journals, photography, and smartphone apps, people are making a difference and shaping environmental policy. Citizen scientists are taking on nationwide conservation challenges, studying regional environmental problems, and doing research to save endangered species. It's all coming up next on North Bay Bountiful.
North Bay Bountiful is made possible in part by Rocky, the free-range chicken, and Rosie, the original organic chicken. The Sonoma County Agricultural Preservation and Open Space District, Made Local Magazine, and Sonoma County Go Local. Support also provided by Pepperwood Preserve and through the generous support of the Sonoma County Water Agency. Cultivate, celebrate, connect.
Students, working people, and retirees are all discovering that they can help protect the environment and contribute to scientific study. Mary Ellen Hannibal is the author of Citizen Scientist, Searching for Heroes and Hope in an Age of Extinction, and helps us understand the importance of documenting our natural world.
Darwin is a citizen scientist. He was an independent researcher. He made direct observations of nature. He had no advanced degree, and he worked for no one but himself. And he amassed gigantic databases of observations of nature. And that's what citizen scientists are doing today. We're doing it today with our smartphones usually, or with pencil and paper, and then we transcribe our data and send it off to a big database. But we're still doing what Darwin did.
The BioBlitz programs at the California Academy of Sciences teach citizen scientists to use the iNaturalist mobile app as part of the annual City Nature Challenge. In the process, these empowered citizens raise public awareness of important conservation issues.
As our planet faces mounting threats to its biodiversity, a new kind of scientist is emerging: the citizen scientist.
We've done citizen science here for years and years. Actually, the Academy was founded by a group of people who were not professional scientists. So back in 1853, they came together and wanted to understand the biodiversity of California and celebrate it and share it with the world. But they weren't professional scientists. They were bankers and lawyers and had other jobs. And so we've had a long tradition of citizen science here and amateurs contributing to science.
Rebecca Johnson and her colleague Allison Young are the architects and directors of the Academy's current citizen science program.
All of our work here to rethink our programs coincided with a blossoming of citizen science as a discipline, partly because of technology and the ability for us to share information so much more easily.
The iNaturalist or iNat app, powered by the California Academy of Sciences and National Geographic, has become a pivotal component of citizen science projects. The app allows people to take and upload photos of plants and animals they spot in the wild.
Here at the Academy, the science of natural history museums is about documenting biodiversity and discovering new species and understanding how species are related to each other. We really try hard in our citizen science program to give people that same experience of going out, documenting biodiversity, discovering the nature all around you, and really helping to connect people to their local nature and also to the science that happens at natural history museums like ours.
iNaturalist photos are geotagged and time-stamped, providing an ever-increasing digital archive of data.
It's really nice for people to see that all science begins with something as small as just making an observation.
The Academy has partnered with more than 300 institutions to organize the third annual City Nature Challenge, a global competition that aims to encourage public interest in nature and create a snapshot of urban biodiversity. Participants from nearly 70 cities on 5 continents are competing this year to see which city will make the most observations, identify the most species, and engage the most people during the 4-day challenge. Marin County Parks and One Tam have joined the City Nature Challenge to host this Bio Blitz on Ring Mountain. Specialists and citizen scientists are particularly keeping an eye out for moths and butterflies.
It's interesting to watch the generational change too, because I know a lot of older academics that are slightly like, they go to one, at the end of these, they always sort of have a place where all those postings go up on the computer, and this older entomologist was sitting next to me, goes, "This is all fascinating, but what is it for?" The whole citizen science thing is still in its infancy, and we're still looking for the words of how to explain what's happening with something like INAT.
The group gathers to observe and identify a moth that might be a species not seen on the mountain in years. Whether an expert or an amateur, anyone participating on a BioBlitz could potentially spot a rare species previously undocumented in the area.
This kind of probably all goes back to hunting. You have to study your hunt, and you don't need to like pin it and hang it on the wall, but finding the target species.
When you look at the map and you see all these observations, it's really, really powerful that all of these people are all sharing their observations, and it is a movement. We are interested in, of course, people taking pictures and sharing them because that adds to our understanding of the mountain and it adds to our kind of global understanding of biodiversity. But really, for me, if people come to open spaces and see nature in a different way, like that's a win. You can tell people forever, there are all these endangered species on Ring Mountain, or species that are only found here, endemic species, 300 species of plants, but unless you're out here, that doesn't really mean a lot. A list of names is not the same as seeing all these wildflowers blooming on the hill.
Just to the north, in Sonoma County, City Nature Challenge BioBlitzes are underway in the Sugarloaf Ridge and Trione-Annandale, California state parks. Environmental scientist Bill Miller is guiding citizen scientists on these BioBlitzes.
And we've been doing this forever. I mean, the first citizen science were fishermen, hunters, and farmers, keeping records of where things were, when things grew. And in some cases, they've been keeping records like that for hundreds of years. I think in Japan you can find records of when the cherry trees blossom, like over a 1,000-year period. These 2 parks burned in the recent fires in October in 2017. And so this is a way to sort of document change. There are some interesting species that are only seen after a fire. In some places, maybe we haven't seen them for 80 years and now they'll pop up.
There are parts of it that are different than they've ever looked before, and some areas that are recovering so quickly, it's almost like it seems like the fire happened ages ago. It's great to see the way the plants and the ecosystem adapts and recovers.
Bill lost his home in the recent fires. The experience changed the way the scientist views nature.
For me, it gave me a greater appreciation for what people feel when they see a park burn and they feel sad for it. And as an ecologist, I've always said, it burns, it's going to be much better than it was before. The land will heal, it's fine. But if you were someone that lived out here, you say you raised your kids out here, maybe used to climb that tree that is now burned up, that's a very real loss.
We've got this orange fungus that only follows after the fires happen. And it's just this artificial, almost like a pastel orange.
Sarah Reed from California State Parks and Tony Passantino from Sonoma Ecology Center have paired up to take a close look at the fire-affected areas in Trione-Annandale Park. Redwood trees are particularly resilient to wildfires.
There's just these burls and scars and scabs. It's got these two shoots probably from a previous fire. You can see the younger shoots that just came up after this fire. So they self-stimulate the resprouting after a fire.
BioBlitzes provide an opportunity to bring people together in an age when many people find themselves increasingly disconnected from nature and each other, tethered to the virtual world of social media and smart devices.
We're pulling out our smartphones and taking a picture when we're at a concert. We're taking pictures of what we eat, for gosh sakes.
Aficionados of iNaturalist and similar apps believe that the prevalence of smart device technology can be harnessed to help people reconnect with the outdoors.
There is a danger that we are always looking through the lens of technology, and so sometimes it is good to sort of put it away and then just
During this year's City Nature Challenge, over 17,000 people made more than 400,000 observations on iNaturalist, documenting more than 18,000 species around the world. Federal agency the Presidio Trust, which manages the Presidio in partnership with the National Park Service, participated in this year's City Nature Challenge.
One of our ambitious goals is to increase biodiversity in the Presidio. The trick becomes, how do we measure that? And so one of the things that we really wanted to do is engage the public and see if we can get people, citizen scientists, to come out and help us in our monitoring efforts.
BioBlitzes can help agencies like the Presidio Trust establish a baseline that allows them to monitor changes in biodiversity over time. Citizen scientists have participated in several of the Presidio Trust's wildlife restoration projects that have reintroduced rare species. One of those projects is taking place on Mountain Lake.
There's a turtle there that was once abundant. It's the western pond turtle. But it was lost to the city, and it too is on a really steep decline in terms of its entire range through California. It's close to being an endangered species. And we have been working with Sonoma State University and San Francisco Zoo to rear them up and to restore them back into the lake. The citizen science component comes from engaging community members that are out and about to count them on a regular basis to make sure that the 50 that we put back, and we put little radio collars on the back of them, are out there and alive. We're getting amazing data on the behavior of those turtles, how well that reintroduction is doing, how many have died, where they're going, and that's all done by this group of dedicated individuals that are really excited about the work we're doing. They're going to give us the kind of feedback that we need in order to make it scientifically valid. There's a lot of threats, and there's a lot of things that are impacting the natural world as it exists today, from climate change to habitat loss to expanding urbanization. All of the things that we call biodiversity are things that humans benefit from. Cleaning our water, providing us with inspiration, providing us with beauty. And if we keep a good eye on them and we can tend them and make them better, we have a much better life ourselves.
To become an active citizen scientist, you don't need to have a background in science or research. you do need to have a love of the outdoors, great curiosity, and to make a connection with a research program through a university or your regional park system.
We're in this dire environmental moment. We are absolutely torching all of these species. We're taking them out before we even know what they do. And we're doing it because we're not conscious enough of how we impact the environment. So one of the things citizen science is great for is bringing people into a direct contact with nature, because this is what we all have to do, right, is kind of get a different relationship with nature. But very particularly, we need data on where species are, when, and how those populations change over time.
In collaboration with the University of California and Sonoma State University, citizen scientists in Sonoma County are collecting bay laurel leaves to assist in controlling the pathogen responsible for sudden oak death.
It's really just about collecting leaves, getting a GPS point, writing a couple other things down, and having a great day in the woods. We are here at the Fairfield Osborne Preserve, which is part of Sonoma State's campus, to do the Sudden Oak Death Blitz. And that is a citizen science project. It's a collaboration between UC Cooperative Extension, UC Berkeley, and the Master Gardener Program of Sonoma County. Sudden oak death is the disease that is caused by a pathogen called Phytophthora ramorum, and that's a water mold. And it has been infecting oak trees as well as over 100 species of foliar hosts and tan oak trees for over 20 years now in California and Oregon. And it seemed to get a little better in the drought, but what we're finding is that it did not go away, and in fact it has come back with a vengeance after the drought. So in some areas of Sonoma County, we actually see a 10-fold increase in incidence of sudden oak death just in the last 2 years.
Thank you so much for coming, everybody. I'm Carrie Whittinger. This is the Sudden Oak Death Blitz at Osborne Preserve. Are we all here for the right reason? Fantastic.
I like to say it's a hike in the woods and you're collecting leaves from California bay laurel trees that look infected. There's a video going on showing you what to look for. You collect your leaves, you get 5 to 10, put them in a little packet, take your GPS location, then you just write down a couple pieces of information such as, is there a tree nearby that's an oak tree that looks like it's dying? And then you write down things like how far it was between the last tree that you saw. So for example, if you walk 200 yards and you're looking for an infected tree and you don't see anything, you write that down even if you don't have a sample, because that's still helpful information to let us know that actually there isn't a disease in this area.
That's number 47 sample, I think.
48.
Oh,
40, we did
okay,
2 over
that's
there.
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, that looks like a telltale sign. Alrighty, onward.
Bay laurel is a common tree found on Fairfield Osborne Preserve, and if you look on some of the leaves, what you're looking for is a classic sign of Phytophthora ramorum, which would be a darkening beneath a dark brown band, and then above that you'll find a yellow haloing mark, and then the rest of it just looks like a normal leaf. So it's pretty hidden. You wouldn't think that anything's wrong unless you know about what you're looking at or looking for.
The pathogen looks different on different leaves depending on where it's facing. If the leaf is vertical or horizontal, you will see the signs of the browning on the leaf depending on where the water is going to be pooled or collected. So like the water collected on the side, and this one too, it was laying sideways. This one's like, it was almost dead when I found it.
This place really means a lot to me, so I wanted to get more of an in-depth look at, what are we looking at problem-wise with this pathogen on this preserve. You're able to become more aware of the problem when you're actually looking for it. You know, otherwise when you're just kind of wandering around here in the woods, you kind of think, oh, it's nature, there's probably nothing wrong with it. You don't really think about any sort of pathogens or anything that might be really taking effect. And when you're out here and you're actually looking for things and you hear of something that might be a problem, that's when it becomes more real, and that's when you are paying more attention to what kind of problems actually exist here in the natural world.
One reason this is really important to do today is because we need to make sure people know that this is still a problem. And this data that we get, we could never get without the help of citizens. So citizen science utilizes the public, non-scientists, to get data in massive amounts. So we have public coming up here, landowners, students, people that are just neighbors nearby, and they may be concerned about oaks on their property. They just might love this preserve, or they may want to help science. And so what they can do is come collect some pretty simple, well laid out data that scientists have come up with protocols for. And they collect that information and then they give it to the scientific community to use. And then scientists get to find out, what do we have and how can we use this? So there's an app called SODMap Mobile that's really easy to get on your phone. And you can literally just push a button and it tells you, where am I standing right now? What is the risk that a tree will have sudden oak death? And it maps that using the data from this blitz. So if we find out today on the preserve that there are X number of trees from this very spot that I'm standing that have sudden oak death, that will help make that app available for the public.
It's just about being an active member in your community and then also helping out these things like this today. If we didn't volunteer and do this, then it wouldn't get done, and these trees don't have as much samples sent off, and research can't be done as correctly. It's just people need to get involved. You can't expect somebody else to do it. And I feel like that's a lot of people's problems is the bystander effect, where they say, oh, somebody else will do it. No, you can do it. Be that person, be the change you want to be. That's my closing statement. Drop mic.
If you use the public, you activate the community to get more information. Another thing is you're actually educating the public. So not just are you getting data, you're getting people to care and be informed and maybe speak up and get more done.
Crowdsourced research data helps scientists, journalists, and even politicians understand the many challenges facing the environment.
So citizen science is also a real bridge between regular people and then policymakers, who we know policymakers are never going to do anything just because it's the right thing to do. They have to actually be made to do the right thing. And it's regular people who make them do the right thing by making a case for what they think and know is right. And citizen science is how we collect data about the natural world so that we can have better policies around how to protect it.
SPAWN, the Salmon Protection and Watershed Network, uses the help of citizen scientists to monitor the health of the coho salmon population. They collect data so that the public and policymakers will support the protection and restoration of the species.
SPAWN, the Salmon Protection and Watershed Network, is a volunteer-driven organization. We couldn't succeed without them. We couldn't continue without them. We're based here in the Lagunitas Creek watershed in Marin County. Our goal is to restore and recover the critically endangered coho salmon. Julie and Noelani have been with SPAWN for at least a decade.
So that's a nice male across.
I've been a volunteer with SPAWN along with my son since 2002. He was 6 years old when we first took a training to be creek naturalists, and we've been doing it ever since.
My mom and I, we lead tours for the salmon. We show people the salmon.
The female releases milt.
The female releases
I'm sorry, the male releases.
It's been incredible to watch Noelani grow up. Some of the first times I met him, he impressed me by knowing all the scientific names of all the reptiles and amphibians of the area.
The salmon are called anadromous fish. That means that they can spawn in fresh water, and then from the fresh water they go out to the ocean. They stay there for a while, and then they come back to the fresh water.
And that's what anadromous means. Salmon have a really cool story. They're swimming up against the current, kind of racing the clock toward their death. This titanic battle. She's sort of in the middle of the creek. Maybe they're spawning with their last breath, and people really like to come see that. There's a little bit of a mound there. I'm a volunteer for the Salmon Protection Watershed Network spawn and do basically anything I can to help the salmon here in Marin. We also try to do a lot of restorations, planting native plants which will provide better cover for the baby salmon. Also, I volunteer with the Point Reyes National Seashore. And then there's also sort of a lot of work being done in monitoring the salmon, so counting the adults that are spawning. Like this net, it would be definitely really hard to catch them. They're super fast swimmers. And also counting the baby salmon as they're going out to the ocean. 120.
I've enjoyed the company of the people that I've met, really wonderful people who are very, very dedicated, who know so much about it, and to be able to learn from them, it's been great.
As the species declines, that has impacts on the ecosystem as a whole. There's another carcass that the turkey vulture's eating right now. And it's also really important just to protect the species to, promote the biodiversity of the ecosystem and of the planet. I'd like to stay involved in any way I can with helping the salmon, and I definitely want to make sure that the salmon are here for everyone else to see.
If we had more people like Julie and Noelani, these fish would be on their way to recovery.
A lot closer to the fish. It's not a great place to take a large group because you don't really want to disturb the salmon when they're spawning.
We look out here at these beautiful wildflowers that are just blooming like crazy in this spring after we've had these wildfires and we've had rain. And the thing is, we're watching life boom, but we understand that these wildflowers will die. They will die within weeks perhaps, or months. And we know we're not sorry about that, because we know that they are going back to nourish the earth, in which they will germinate again and come back next year. And this cycle of life is what we depend on. And the more that we can put ourselves kind of in alignment with that, then I think we can start to really get a better relationship with how we treat all species, including other human beings.